Okay, hello. This is the SNES Divination reading for the week of the 22nd to the 28th of October 2018. And these are our games today. We have the Ren and Stimpy. I'm afraid I never watched it, so I'm not sure. Ren and Stimpy Show Buckaroos, National Hockey, ESPN National Hockey Night, The Mask, which I briefly mentioned in my first reading, Robo Trek, Bulls versus Blazers and the NBA playoffs, RD Lightfoot, Full Throttle, All American Racing, and Ultimate Fighter. Okay. Well, the first theme that clearly shows itself is that of sports, right? It's a theme that's coming up a lot. Obviously, that's natural, there being many sports games, but I still want to take it as, as a read. So I'm going to look at it in the context of what it could mean here for this week. Many sports, and specifically, obviously competition is a big aspect of sports, but I like the way that it is highlighted in these box arts. First of all, here, this is obviously like a big scramble to everyone's competing for the prize or to sort of to get their goal. So it's not, last week there was a lot of one against one competition or smaller groups, right? The first week was like doubles, one person versus another person. The second week there was a bigger kind of theme. I was perceiving more like a trinity theme of three people. Here, this kind of exceeds it, right? There's a theme of there's many more people. It has grown since last week. So that's one thing we could say. This somehow confirms that slightly, if you could call it confirming, where there are many, many different logos, different teams, and they're all kind of competing together. So there's a big theme of a competition that transcends just one or two people involved. It's a big thing. And yet here we return to the theme of two people competing. And this is, it's funny, it has this weird like yin-yang character to it. There's a bright day, bright water, dark kind of earth. So there's water and there's motorbike, and they're broken in half in front of the American flag. And so it's a competition, right? It's a strange theme. It signifies visually the theme of competition, kind of. As if this person is competing against this one. The way the postcard is broken is kind of like when lovers break up and a photograph is broken or something, and it's as if they were once together but now they've been broken apart. And yet, when you think about it, there isn't really any reason why they should have been competing, in the sense that, they're different sports. He's racing on water and this is earth on the road. So maybe that is what separates them. Maybe what separates them is the fact that they're racing in different different, just completely different places, different realms of experience, kind of, and yet it involves a competition between them. It's like a competition from one world to another, two completely different worlds. Again, recalling like the inner and the outer kind of thing, the above and the below. Somehow that there has been a rupture between those, and yet they are competing against each other. They are coming together, despite the competition that involves. It's as if they are obviously all, they're different teams and they're fighting against each other, but in the act of fighting against each other, they are coming together and they're huddling together in a group. There's a strange theme of they are separating each other in the act of competition, and yet they are coming together in the fact that they all want the same thing. They all want the ball, right? So that's the theme of competition, right? A close theme is this theme of fighting. Again, typical theme of this kind of game, but also, somehow related to sports in a way, right? Martial arts are a sport. So even if this is a game where sports are used in an illegal way, like just fighting in the streets or killing enemies in a castle or something, or whatever, it draws influence from the world of competitive martial arts, I would say. Again, I don't know what this game is about, so it could actually have something to do with sports, with actual sort of like tournament kind of fighting. In any case, here our hero is all kind of enveloped in an orange, fiery glow. He's dressed in yellow, so it highlights this theme of gold and light, which appears in the name itself, but is also surrounded by this yellow, like lava almost, or fire. It's as if he's completely inflamed with spirit or something. So now we can kind of go into the particulars, because this is curiously similar to this. Here we have this game, R.D. Lightfoot, which I realize I think I forgot to introduce the games. Anyway, we'll look at them one by one. We have a protagonist who is all red-furred, and is a torch-bearing animal as well. He's carrying a torch, and he himself is the color of light. He's wearing red gloves. The theme of fire is resonant with his own character, made by Titus, by the way, which appeared in the last reading, also resonant of this theme of characters who are red and resonant with light. So these two guys, somehow I feel they have a similar thing going on. Now, I said I mentioned the mask in a previous reading. I mentioned it. Oops! Oh, damn it! I mentioned it in relation to the theme of the Green Man. And now, the Green Man, I would say, has to do with some of this as well. First of all, he's dressed in yellow. So this is similar to this guy, right? Dressed in yellow, this sort of golden solar color. But also, having said that, I would perceive a lunar side to the mask as well, because it is lunar in the sense that this is the shadow side of Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey in his normal life in this movie doesn't really show his true emotions, his true passion. It is all hidden down below, but then it comes up to the surface when he puts the mask on. So there is something about the hidden passions, which I would associate to the Green Man, in that it is this kind of spirit of nature, something Dionysian and visceral, orgiastic, that comes up to the surface, right? There is something orgiastic in conflict, sport, war, and these kind of themes as well, because it is all, it's the opposite of contemplative meditation, right? It is pure action, pure movement. It's about actually allowing the force of kind of movement to move through you, whatever that means. But I perceive something similar in these Dionysian themes that are coming up, and these themes of conflict and war. Let's remember that Chicago Bulls also have a red animal as their logo, which kind of goes well with the Titus thing and all this. Okay, so it's just kind of before going any further, I want to look at what has come up so far. There is a general theme of competition and fighting for something, for a certain goal, and yet this is paired with a kind of Dionysian energy of fire or light coming up through the individual, right? These themes where this Dionysian aspect comes up, I think, appear mostly in this case where in how would I say it, in individuals. So first of all, okay, finally I'm starting to be able to look at the ways in which the spread kind of aligns itself. Here we have the three sports form a triangle here, and the three individuals form a triangle here. So I have these two triangles kind of colliding, and then these two games side by side, which we'll have to look at. The only two games. Incidentally, these are the only two games that haven't caught my attention right away. So, before going into them, I want to just go back to R.D. Lightfoot. Ah, damn it. Hate that. So, R.D. Lightfoot, this is one of the clearest sort of album covers where something is happening, something you can actually look at. There is a diamond, a jewel, and R.D. has been looking for it in some sort of an abandoned, ruined temple. But looming behind him is like what appears to be the antagonist. Ah, okay, let's look at this. This is the green man, right? This is a green frog or a green toad that's coming up. And it feels as if this green frog is perfectly aligned with R.D., as if he was R.D.'s shadow, right? He's completely behind R.D. and just looming over him at the moment. So see, there's a strange fractality to this where, or I don't know what the word would be, R.D. is looking at the jewel, and the moment he sets eyes on it, he sets eyes on R.D. So R.D. is the jewel of the frog, and the jewel is the jewel of R.D., or something like that. I find this interesting, especially since here, right, we were looking at how they are all trying to have, this is like the jewel. They're all going towards the jewel. There is an object of desire, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 5 people here, overlooked by a 6th person. That might come in handy and might not. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, there are 6 people. So 6 people portrayed here, 6 people portrayed here, but just in different kind of constellations. It's funny how this, Lightfoot, obviously it probably just refers to the fact that he's nimble and that he's quick and he can run and jump, but it also has the word light in it. Now I'm kind of completely free-flowing here, but this, all these words in yellow or gold, like here, right, resonate light that shines in the shadows, in the darkness, right? The frog is in the shadows. The frog is not illuminated. The frog has this strange kind of red feather coming out of his third eye, in the same way that R.D. has this red bit of hair coming out of his third eye. So they are resonant in a strange way. It's just almost as if this is the unilluminated version, not in the sense that the frog is dumb or unilluminated, but just that the frog is not being cast light on by R.D. What is being cast a light on is the diamond, but the diamond itself is the source of light. It almost appears in the picture as if the diamond is brighter than the torch. And then again, we have this theme of light. The foot is elevated just as the torch is. Again, complete free-flowing, but it's almost as if there is something. If I'm going to resonate with the Green Man and Dionysus, then I might as well complete this by adding Mercury and the whole theme of winged sandals, right? This Lightfoot, maybe here a pun could emerge, meaning that it's not just that the winged foot is a symbol of quickness, quicksilver, right? Of moving between the worlds without difficulty, being able to go into the underworld and back, right? But also that what allows one to go down into the underworld and back is light somehow, maybe. So it could be that the torch here is resonant of this, of the third eye, which is what allows us to discover the diamond, or again that maybe the diamond is the third eye. So the discovery of the third eye is the discovery which is made with the third eye. Some kind of a this is a self-referential moment kind of thing, which has to be portrayed in a metaphorical way if we are to portray it with little cartoon characters. I like the fact that he seems to be surrounded by like this sort of angel and devil. This guy's smiling, this guy's frowning. There's a sort of a duality of a yin and yang sort of emotion here surrounding him. Let's remember this yin and yang emotion for a second, whatever that may mean. And these seem to be like, obviously it's difficult to know what animal they are, but they seem to be slightly water-based, like the frog, like fishes, dolphins, something like that, I would say. So it's the underworld because it's a ruined temple in the darkness, but it's also an underworld because it is the land of water creatures. And this guy doesn't seem to be a water creature. I would say that this guy is not exactly in his home or in his comfort zone. He has come down somewhere new, right? So last week I was talking about looking into the screen and going into the world of the imagination. We might suggest then that this is what is happening here, that the hero has descended into the underworld and it, like, the jewel has been perceived somehow. Maybe that is why now there are more people, more aspects are charging towards it, because it is clearer, it is easier to be seen, maybe, or something. Of course, if the frog is the Green Man and therefore is the mask, then we need to ask ourselves another thing. The mask, as I said, is the shadow of Jim Carrey in a strange way. So even though, in this box art, this seems to be a villain. But as we all know, if you've watched this movie, the mask, yes, you could maybe say that it's the villain, but it's also the hero of the movie, right? Jim Carrey's life would have been a complete mess if these shadow aspects of his life hadn't erupted into his life. It was a healing crisis in the end. Oops. Oh, damn it. Right? It was a healing crisis. So this presence seems very ominous. But let's remember that this presence seems to be simultaneous with the discovery of the diamond. It's not as if this is exactly an obstacle to the discovery of the diamond, but maybe like a shadow that one must go through. So that all these themes that have been appearing of conflict, war, and competition may have something to do with this, with the fact that there is something inherently frightening about the confrontation with the shadow, but that this fear of descending into the inner world is, I would say, not... I mean, it is... I want to be very careful here. I don't want to offer any sort of advice or anything. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here that I would say this is not to be taken lightly, right? I mean, war and conflict are really real things, and the suffering that comes from them are really real things. So I would say that the paradox of these kind of images, is that precisely because the suffering of conflict is real, one wants to find a solution to it, a solution to the suffering. But that ironically, the solution to the suffering isn't to escape the suffering. I would say that that's as much as you could say, maybe. That escaping conflict creates conflict. That's somehow the paradoxical aspect of this. That it is somehow a confrontation of the shadow in oneself, which allows the shadow to not exert a violent, toxic influence by being unnecessarily projected onto the people around you and setting you in conflict with them, when actually you should be in conflict with yourself. You should be diving deep into yourself, I would say, at least as a first step. Okay, well, with that out of the way, let's look at this now. I mean, it seems clear after all of that that this constellates in a similar kind of way. They are grabbing the prize. So, and the prize here is money, green money. So, there are several box arts that openly show us this theme. Here, here, and here, there are people grabbing the prize. They are really reaching out and grabbing it. It's just that here it is money, but here it isn't money, as it isn't here in a strange way. It is money here. Jewel is money, but it carries more of a mysterious, adventurous, spiritual vibe to it, that what is being found is something spiritual. If R.D. Lightfoot had found a wad of, dollar bills here, I don't think he would be as excited. There's something exciting about this confrontation with this diamond. It has a sort of a mandalic structure to it. It's a circle, it's a mandala, it's a diamond. It's kind of a symbol of the self somehow. It's a prize that sits at the center of the mandala, at the center of this circle of people. This doesn't get so easily categorized here, but they are both coming out, they're sort of bursting out of this circle in the wall kind of thing, with the prize in hand. And talking about, circles, right? Here, the prize is a circle. This is a diamond, whatever. This whole thing is a giant circle, whatever it may be. Robotrek, it seems to be, well, first of all, I'm going to try and, I would say that this, no matter what it is a ripoff of Star Wars. And I mean that in the best way possible. That I would say that there is a whole generation of science fiction that has these kind of planetoid, spherical space stations, which I would say are most likely inspired in Star Wars. In which case, you could see this as a moon, right? That in the same way that Star Wars kind of willfully confuses the Death Star with a moon, this could be a moon in that it is a giant bluish kind of sphere in the sky. So it's not a sun; it's the dark side of it, the shadow side of a solar energy, and it has this giant kind of beam. It seems to be, it isn't charging it up, but it is there. It is available. There seems to be something else, some other kind of little spacecraft, either just coming out or docking. It's as if it's just coming out of whatever, some sort of on a mission or whatever. Anyway, there are 3 diamonds. So R.D. Lightfoot was grabbing a diamond, and this thing is resonant of the diamond as shape and also resonant of the sphere as shape. So it simultaneously references both this and this. And in both, and it kind of connects both of them with this image of the moon, I would say, or this blue shadowy presence up in the universe. So definitely something to do with something shadowy, something hidden, unconscious. Robotrek. So we have the word robo to robot. That had somehow been coming up a lot in the past few readings. So yeah, I mean, I think that's about it, really. I would say that this whole aspect of robots, the way that it's been constellating in past readings, to me, robots always resonant of Pinocchio, or these, which Pinocchio itself, I would kind of draw back to the Herma, or that kind of Hermes-inspired block of granite, which would represent this kind of hermetic principle that one is a block of granite to be worked on somehow. This kind of theme that one is not in one's original or true form. That this division between heaven and earth signifies that until the 2 realms are united, how to say this? Until the 2 realms are united, the individual, there is always going to be a split within the individual. And I would consider that to be what the robot represents to me, in a way. This kind of a shell, a fake body. The mask somehow resonates this, right? You're wearing a mask, and it's not that the mask is not real. See, that's the interesting thing. The mask is somehow more real than Jim Carrey himself. And it's not more fake. It's somehow more authentic than Jim Carrey himself. It expresses Jim Carrey's emotions more authentically, but it is the proof that Jim Carrey can't express them. The fact that there is a split in Jim Carrey's self between his masked self and his non-masked self kind of shows the fact that even though this is authentic, it is also not authentic, right? By the end of the movie, the whole thing is that you don't need the mask, right? That Jim Carrey doesn't need to have a kind of a prop to do this, an external kind of physical fetish object. It served its purpose, but that by the end he integrates the mask into himself. So it's as if the mask is a doll, it's a plastic face, it's a robot in a way, right? It's like a Pinocchio thing. And by the end, one integrates that so that one is no longer a Pinocchio. One is one's real self, having integrated this shadow part of yourself. So it's as if the shadow part of the self resonates the robot in that it takes control of the body in this sort of robotic, automatic way if it is not integrated. It is shooting its cannon down, right? Down to earth, almost, from above. Anyway, there's just some I could go on, but these are just some thoughts on what I think this could point towards. As another little detail, I find it interesting that both Full Throttle and Ren and Stimpy have this theme of paper being broken, right? That the paper has been torn in this cartoony way. They're jumping out of the circle and tearing the paper. And in this same way, these guys are sort of, the paper has been torn apart. Yeah, I don't know exactly what to say about that, but there is something about like the paper. Oh, damn it. The paper here is like the whole frame of the box art. It's the box art itself. There's a sort of a meta tear. They are tearing through the very fabric of the game, which in the past reading it kind of come up in the theme of staring into the screen and going into the screen kind of referencing itself and so on. Which is something I've found in some video games as well. This whole theme of, there are certain moments in video games where the theme of self-awareness comes up for the video game itself, which of course is funny because it gives this whole theme a kind of a meta flavor as well, because it is also the robot as video game, or the video game as shadow, in the sense, like, I mean, this is a good example, right? The Mask does all these crazy things, these cartoony things that one would want to do but is too afraid of doing, jumping up and down, dancing, and that's what a video game somehow allows you to do as well. You can suddenly become someone who jumps on rooftops and does all this crazy cartoony stuff. So the video game itself fulfills this role of the Mask in a strange way. And in any case, yeah, there's this theme of like paper tearing, which had been coming up in previous ones, but it's almost as if here it reaches a strange climax. I get a strange peaceful feeling from all this, though, in a strange way. It feels less intense than last week. It's as if somehow it is a threshold has been crossed or something. That there was like this build up towards conflict, but precisely when the conflict and the confrontation with the shadow is at a moment of intensity, it becomes peaceful in that this happens, right? In that the closer you get to it, the closer you realize that it is yourself somehow. So that it's what I was saying before. These guys are huddling together. There is a conflict between them, yes, but in that conflict they are coming together in a strange way towards an inner quest. So I would say it as in, if we were to look at this in relation to the inner psychic events of an individual, it would be as if separate little aspects of the personality, which were all separate, are now all kind of constellating around the self, so that the closer the conflict gets, the closer it gets to the self. And this gives a strange sense of peace to the whole thing, right? Remember that this is a ruin. So we're in the unconscious in the sense that it is the classic archetype of the unconscious, a ruin, but it also signifies that this is a place that has been demolished, destroyed. It's in ruins. It's a place that there is a certain destruction and death to this. So it is this alchemical thing of that this new shining life is found precisely in the trash can, in the place of where all this destruction and debris is. And we have this light, torch-bearing aspect that goes down. It's almost as if he is the diamond, right? The diamond itself is shining, sort of the phoenix is shining from the ashes of the destroyed kind of temple, something like that. Right? This guy's kind of phoenix resonating as well. He's sort of burning. He seems to be burning alive, and it is precisely that violence, that burning, that inner violence, I would say, not a violence directed outward, but this sort of this death and burning within that gives him this kind of golden sheen, this light, right, that's coming from within.